So if you've been thinking about buying a genetic test, I advise you watch this video to the end because there are a few mistakes that people make that can turn a DNA test into an expensive anxiety report instead of a useful plan. And if you've ever been told it's all because of your MTHFR gene or your methylation is broken or you need this huge supplement stack because your genes are bad, well, then this video is for you. Because today I'm going to walk you through the top 5 genetic testing mistakes that I see all the time. And then I'll show you exactly what to look for in a good genetic test panel so you don't waste your money and you don't accidentally make your symptoms worse. So stay tuned. Hi, I'm Giselle Rosa, a board-certified psychiatric nurse practitioner and mental health coach, here to help you optimize your mental health using genetics, labs, and an integrative and functional medicine approach with an emphasis on skills before pills. Now, first we need to clarify what kind of genetic testing we're talking about, because this actually matters. You see, there are 2 very different categories of genetic testing. One category is medical genetic testing, where doctors are looking for rare, high-impact variants that can change medical screening or treatment. So think hereditary cancer genes. And this is handled in a clinical setting and often comes with genetic counseling. But what we're talking about today is nutrigenomic and lifestyle-focused SNP testing. These look at common genetic variants or SNPs that can influence things like nutrient needs, inflammation tendencies, stress response, sleep biology, neurotransmitter signaling and detox, and antioxidant pathways. And the reason these panels can be helpful is because many of these pathways are modifiable. So today is not about diagnosing disease. This is about using genetics as a personalized tool so you can build a smarter plan using diet, lifestyle, and targeted nutrients. Remember, skills before pills. Let's get into the mistakes. So mistake number 1 is buying a test that overfocuses on one gene or one pathway. Buying a genetic test or following a genetics influencer who makes your entire biology about one gene. And usually it's MTHFR. But here's the truth. MTHFR matters, but it's not the whole story. Methylation is a real pathway. It does real things. But methylation is not the only thing your brain and body are doing all day. Your mood, energy, focus, sleep, and anxiety can be influenced by multiple systems at once, such as inflammation, blood sugar regulation, nutrient status, gut health, circadian rhythm, stress hormones, neurotransmitter receptor sensitivity, oxidative stress, and so much more. So if a panel is basically MTHFR and friends, and everything gets interpreted through the lens of methylation, that's when people end up confused, discouraged, or over-supplemented. So my rule is MTHFR is a chapter, it's not the entire book. And I'll tell you what happens all the time. Someone sees MTHFR, they get scared, they start high-dose methyl donors, and suddenly they have more anxiety, irritability, insomnia, they feel panic, they feel wired, and they think that means that they're broken. No. It usually means the approach was too narrow and too aggressive. Mistake number 2 is treating SNPs like a diagnosis. Treating a SNP result like a diagnosis or life sentence. A SNP is not a diagnosis. It's not your destiny. A SNP is not a prophecy. A SNP is usually a tendency. It can nudge your biology in a certain direction, but it doesn't tell the whole story by itself. This is where epigenetics comes in. So very simply, your genes are the blueprint. Epigenetics is the dimmer switch. Things like sleep, chronic stress, alcohol, ultra-processed foods, exercise, nutrient sufficiency, hormones, and even your light exposure can influence how strongly certain pathways show up in your day-to-day symptoms. So when I see someone spiral because they have a quote-unquote bad gene, I remind them, Genes load the gun, environment pulls the trigger. And the good news is you get to work with the environment. Now, mistake number 3 is confusing disease genes with lifestyle genes, mixing up disease genetics with lifestyle genetics. And let me give you the cleanest comparison. Some genes like BRCA can involve rare variants with major medical implications. And those are not take magnesium and go for a walk genes. Those belong in medical care with proper testing and counseling. Most nutrigenomic panels are focused on common SNPs that influence how you process nutrients, respond to stress, or handle inflammation. So if someone is talking about your MTHFR the way they talk about BRCA, that's a category error. And a simple way to think about it is disease genes can be like a smoke alarm, high stakes, very specific protocols, where lifestyle SNPs are more like thermostat settings, important but adjustable. Now, mistake number 4 is skipping context, skipping the symptoms, labs, meds, and nervous system state, interpreting genetics in a vacuum. Your biology today matters. If you're sleep deprived, if you're in perimenopause, if you're tapering a medication, if you have low iron or low vitamin D, if your gut is a mess, if your blood sugar is swinging, genetics is not going to override that. Genetics can, however, help us personalize, but it's not a replacement for context. And this is why 2 people can have the same SNP and completely different symptoms, because the inputs are different. The inputs like stress load, sleep debt, hormone shifts, diet quality, caffeine and alcohol use, inflammation level, medication effects, and nutrient deficiencies all paint a picture of what is actually going on with your biology. So if you do genetic testing and you don't pair it with symptom patterns and labs, you can end up chasing the wrong thing. Now, mistake number 5 is following a one-size-fits-all supplement stack. Letting a report push you into a massive supplement stack, especially right away. So more supplements does not equal more precision. Sometimes it actually equals more side effects, more nervous system activation, more money, more confusion about what's helping or hurting. A good genetics approach is usually foundational first, then targeted supplement support or other supports. And especially for anyone with anxiety, insomnia, medication sensitivity, or withdrawal vulnerability, this matters a lot. Because even good nutrients can feel awful if the dose is too high, the form isn't right for you, or you start too many things at once, or your nervous system is already on high alert. So my bias is always start low, go slow, track your symptoms, build stability, skills before pills. Now let's move on to what to look for in a good genetic test panel. And let's flip this into something practical. So if you're going to buy a genetic test, here is what to look for. Number 1, multiple pathway coverage. A good panel doesn't just talk methylation, it includes multiple systems that actually shape mental health and overall health, like inflammation and immune signaling, oxidative stress and antioxidant pathways, neurotransmitter signaling and receptor sensitivity, circadian rhythm and sleep biology, your fats and omega-3 pathways, nutrient transport and activation. If the entire report is just one pathway, it's incomplete. A good report will also have number 2, which is actionability over alarmism. So a high-quality lifestyle genetics panel is curated. It focuses on SNPs that have enough scientific support to be useful, and that connects to pathways we can actually influence with diet, lifestyle, and targeted nutrients. It's not just a giant list of random variants meant to look impressive. And it should translate into real-life levers like sleep timing and light exposure, movement type and frequency, nutrition patterns and protein and fiber balance, caffeine and alcohol sensitivity, stress tools that match your physiology, and targeted nutrients when appropriate. Now, the third thing that is good is that they have clarity on the SNP type. You see, common SNPs should not be presented like rare disease mutations. If a report makes everything sound high risk and scary, well, then that's a red flag. And the fourth good thing to look for is supplement guidance that's conservative and clear. So look for caution. Starting doses should not be too high, and look for contraindications. And remember, start low, go slow, not stacking 10 things at once. So that supplement stack should be very conservative. And the fifth and final good thing to look for is privacy that you can understand. Remember, this is your DNA. This is your biology. If their privacy policy is confusing or vague, pay attention. Move on. Now, some quick red flags to recap here. If you see these, run. Red flag number 1, everything is methylation. Red flag number 2, your report is basically fear marketing with tons of scary labels and very little practical guidance. Red flag number 3 is they push a huge supplement stack before addressing your sleep, your stress, your food quality, and movement. Because if your foundation is unstable, supplements can become chaos. And so how I like to use genetics, of course, is skills before pills. The best interpretation always comes back to you, to your symptoms, your history, your labs, your medications, your nervous system state, because that's where the truth lives. We look for patterns across pathways. Then we choose the highest impact lifestyle levers first, because genetics help answer questions like what destabilizes your nervous system the fastest, or what stabilizes it the fastest? What nutrient bottlenecks are most likely happening? What should we try first, and what should we be cautious with? That's nutrigenomics done right. It's not fear-based, not supplement happy, just strategic. So here are my final thoughts. So if you've been thinking about a genetic test, here's your takeaway. Don't buy a DNA test that only tells you one story. Don't treat SNPs like a diagnosis. Don't confuse lifestyle genetics with disease genetics, and please don't let a report talk you into a supplement stack that overwhelms your nervous system. So if you want help or you need help choosing the right testing approach and turning your results into a clear, personalized plan based on a skills before pills approach, check the link in the description for my DNA testing packages. And if you found this helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it with a friend who just got told their MTHFR means they're doomed, because they're not. And as always, I thank you for watching. I wish you well on your mental health care journey, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.